My wife and I have, in prayer, followed God wherever He's wanted us to go. He's blessed me a huge amount by taking away my addictions and leading me onto a path that wasn't headed for destruction. I remember one story when we were living in Port Hardy, and I was coming back from Camel River, which is about a 3-hour drive, and there was this young girl hitchhiking on the side of the road. And about half a mile up the road, I get this little voice in my head saying, "Turn around and go get her." And I'm like, nah, I don't pick up hitchhikers. So I just kept going down the road. I'm a new Christian, so I'm still struggling with when you really are talking to me. I said, if this is you, Lord, make a white truck come around the next corner. So as I was driving, the next corner comes a white truck. So I'm like, I guess I'm going to get her. So I turn around and I go pick up this young lady. She gave me her life story and all the things that were hurting her in her past and in her present. And I was able to talk to her about my past and connect with her. And it was a really touching moment. And that blessing was not only for her, that was for me. About a year later, I was passing that same spot, and here's another hitchhiker. And I kept going because I don't pick up hitchhikers. But the Lord, in His unique wisdom, had other plans for me. Another reason I wasn't even thinking of picking this guy up was he was probably 6'4", wearing army fatigues, dreadlocks, and a giant beard. And I'm like, those are the type of guys people tell you don't pick up. But I kept going, and the Lord spoke to me yet again. Turn around and go get him. And I said, Lord, like last time, if you can prove this is you talking to me because I'm having doubts, make a white truck come around the corner again. And I was like struggling, no, make it a blue truck this time. I'm like, no, white truck, blue truck. I'm like, white truck. And around that next corner, a white truck comes around the corner with a blue truck behind it. I guess the Lord is speaking to me. And I turn around, and as I picked him up, I could hear a really strong French accent. And the guy told me he had just finished his engineering degree for forestry engineering in Three Rivers, Quebec. And he wanted to do an in-the-wild experience across Canada and see Canada as a whole before he started his career. And here I'd put the label on him. And he was something other than that. It was a really great conversation. I found out he was a Christian, so I asked him, would you like to come to church tomorrow? He said, sure. So I was going to bring him home that night, but I wasn't sure how my wife would feel about it. So I gave him some money, dropped him off at the hostel, picked him up the next morning, and he came to church with us, and he had a great experience. And I brought him to my youth group that night. We played basketball. We came back to my place. He stayed with us that night, and we washed all of his laundry for him, and we had a fire on the beach. He said, this was just wonderful meeting you and having this experience. He said, most people don't even stop to pick me up, much less let me stay at their home and feed me. So the next morning, he said, I'm ready to go back. So I took him into town, and before I left the home, I grabbed my first Bible that I picked up at camp meeting when I was baptized. It was just a little pocket Bible. And when I dropped him off, I said, I have something to give you if you would like it. I said, I have a little Bible. And he said, well, thanks, yeah, I'd love it. And so I gave him the Bible, he put it in his pocket, and he looked at me and he said, you know what, nobody has ever done that for me before, thank you. And we said goodbyes, and I never heard or seen from him again. I think there's many times we all want to see, the effects of our ministry. And sometimes we don't need to see it. We need to see it up there, not here on earth. And I think God has us planting seeds constantly that we aren't going to see until we're in heaven. My past gives me a unique perspective on how I see the gospel, and the trauma that I've gone through, like I say, helps me to speak to others. God can use that in me. He can use that brokenness to help others and help them find God. Don't just sit in the pew and wait to be fed. Don't hide your light. Help others to see that light and reach out to your community. There's so many people that are out there hurting. They need Jesus' love, and we can show them that love. We can't hold it back.
So there's Jim's story, white truck, blue truck, white truck, blue truck. Now he decides, it's a white truck. And then comes around the corner, a white truck, followed by a blue truck. I mean, what's the chances? Kind of reminds me of the story of Gideon in the Bible, where he's asking God to give him a sign, put out a fleece, and that fleece is going to be wet and the ground is going to be dry, and the next day it's like, no, I want the fleece to be dry and the ground is wet, and it's just like God is speaking to him clearly, just as he spoke to Jim in Jim's story. So Jim learned that really God loves each one of us, and we have that love. We can't hold it back. We have to show that love to others. And when we listen to his voice, he speaks to us.